It's time to look at some comic book sales on eBay. We're going to look at the top 10 sales for the month of May, coming up next on this video from Bronzeville Comics. Hey there, comic community. This is Jim from Bronzeville Comics coming to you with another video. Before we get started, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the 4,000 subscriber giveaway. We had the giveaway last night, and one of the giveaway winners was there and is already contacting me, but we have three others. Frank Hubel, you won third prize. Mr. Torrance, you won second prize. And David Waring, you won first prize. Please contact me in the description of this video via email or Instagram if you prefer, and send me your information and I will ship out your prize. So we're heading towards 5,000 subscribers. And again, I'm really grateful for everyone that comes by the channel, views. If you like the content, give us a sub, give us a like. Leave a comment on this video. It's always appreciated. I do this for fun, and I've been doing this for I think just over 2 years now, and it's been a lot of fun. And I appreciate it when people come up to me at shows or whatever when I see them, and they're like, "Oh, I know you from YouTube." Always the kind words are always appreciated, and thank you for checking out, my silly little YouTube channel. So at any rate, every month I do the top 10 sales, comic book sales on eBay. So also follow us on the other social medias, Instagram at Bronzeville_comics, whatnot Bronzeville_comics. We have sales every Monday night at 10 p.m. And when the summer comes, we're going to be having sales maybe 2 or 3 weekday afternoons. So keep an eye out for that. If you have not yet signed on to Whatnot, you can use the link in the description of this video. It will get you $10 off your first purchase, regardless of who that's with. It does not have to be with me. Also, there is a link to my eBay store in the description of this video, as well as my email. eBay sales. Let's dig into it. Some interesting stuff. Some best offer accepted that probably went for a little bit lower or maybe a lot lower. And then a book that repeats on this list, which is rather interesting. I'm going to start off with number 10, a book that seems to be on this list every month, and that is Amazing Fantasy 15, a CGC 1.0, sold for $18,000. It was a best offer accepted, so it probably went for less than that. Right after that, just in early June, there was a $12,700 sale, and the most recent sale in a 1.0 before that was $15,000 in January. So, I mean, if the seller got close to $18,000, they did very well. One of the things with 1.0s of huge keys like this, that obviously people want them. If you want a copy of Amazing Fantasy 15, a 1.0 is more affordable than a 2.0, a 3.0, and so on. There is a lot of variability in the display of a 1.0. How is it damaged to be a 1.0? Is it a spine split cover detached? Maybe pieces missing on the back cover? Is there staining? Is there tape? Is there fading? Is there wrinkle? Are there hard creases? Are there pieces missing out of the front cover? Are there key pieces missing out of the front cover? And if we take a look at this book, this particular Amazing Fantasy 15 in a 1.0, I'm going to take a closer look at it, and it is a little bit messy. I would actually think this is a Gen 2 CGC label, and it has notes on it, which they used to do back in the day. What does it say? Cover is attached with tape on cover, interior cover, and interior. So there's a lot of tape on the book. It presents okay. But, you know, it is kind of a mess. This would be, I think, a better presenting 1.0. It was obviously never cleaned or pressed. That would improve the appearance at least. If I had this book, I would and I was an AF15 collector. If I was the end collector of this book, I might be tempted to have it cleaned and pressed just because I could get it to look better. And so get a new slab, kind of straighten out some of the big wrinkles in there. There's a big wrinkle in the back cover. You know, the cover is all askew. I don't know if that can be fixed because of the tape, but certainly it could present better. I might be interested in removing the tape, but this is probably not necessarily a flip book. But you know, if it's for one's collection, so be it. We're going to move up to number 9 on the list, and it is Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man. This is a raw copy, but it is a restored raw copy. And the restoration, according to the listing, includes color touch, pieces added to cover, reinforced, spine split sealed, tear seals, staples replaced, cover cleaned, and reglossed. But it is not trimmed. It went at auction. With 78 bids, it sold for $20,001. Now, that is the FMV of a graded 1.5 to 1.8. And if you look at this book, this looks much better than that. However, because of the purple label of death that this book will get if you get it graded, some people really are resistant to purple labels, but, you know, for a book that is this hard to find, and it just looks, I mean, it looks this gorgeous restored. You have to obviously swallow the pill that the book is not the original condition of the book, that it's restored. But you would probably need, and it could fetch this based on looking at these pictures, you'd need probably an 8.0 restored for the value to be about $20,000. Now, obviously, you have to put money into the grading fees. So it's going to cost you $20,000 plus grading fees. But it might be worth it to get it slabbed. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Would you keep this raw? Would you get it slabbed knowing it's going to get a restored grade? Or would you have stayed away from it entirely because it's restored? Let's move on to number 8 on the list. It's a modern book. Well, I guess it's more copper than modern. Anyway, it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 first print CGC 9.2 that after 73 bids sold for $21,320. And this is a pretty good deal. There was a heritage sale in November for $28,800. This book reached a high of $36,000 in November of 2021. Now, the description included the grader's notes of this book, which is interesting. It said light finger bends on cover, light stacking bend, light wear, spine stress lines. Is this a CPR candidate? Now, you have to be pretty daring to crack out a $20,000 comic book, but you could tremendously increase the value if you can turn this from a 9.2 to 9.4. A stacking bend, that's eminently pressable. The finger bends, you'd have to take a real close look at the finger bends to see if it's worth it. That if it would make sense to try to and it's hard to tell from pictures in a slab. There's always glare. You know, obviously you have a dark cover. I mean, it's a beautiful looking book, but you're getting reflections. The seller tried to take some detailed pictures, but the other thing too is there may be there is like color loss in the black cover. So I'm not sure. And then they have a raw copy shown. That is, maybe did they take pictures before they slabbed it? Because this is, I think it's a newer slab. The seller might have taken pictures before it was slabbed. I don't know if they had it cleaned or pressed. The pictures of the comic without the case were taken before it was graded. So, is this a CPR candidate? I don't know. Is it a good buy? Probably. Let's circle back to this book in a few minutes. Number 7 on the list, Brave and the Bold, number 30, the third appearance of the Justice League of America in a CGC 9.2. Best offer was accepted on a listing of $21,500. So it probably sold for less than that. This book does not trade hands too often. The last sale of a 9.2 of this book was in 2013 for $17,000. So an increase from $17,000 to $21,500 in a decade seems like a good deal. The most recent sale anywhere close to this was an 8.5, which sold in January for $3,282. It seems like, I don't know. If you look at the $17,000 sale from a decade ago, $21,500 looks good. If you look at $3,300 for an 8.5, it looks a little questionable because you're only talking about 2 grade levels up. Again, you look on, go collect. This doesn't sell. I mean, there's, of this particular book, how many are there? There are not many. Because this is a book from, what year would this be? 1959? 1960. I mean, it looks gorgeous. I'm just going to scroll the picture here. Yeah, it is in the top 1% of books. There are 510 universal copies on the census of this book. There's a single 9.4, and this is one of 4 9.2s. So this is an incredibly difficult book to get. These early DC Silver Age keys are older than the Marvel keys. Right? This is a year before a Fantastic Four. And you're already talking about the third appearance of the Justice League. So when you go to 28, the first appearance, a hard book to find. And I am jealous of whoever has this. But I probably wouldn't want to spend 20 grand on it. Let's look at number 6. And number 6 is a combo of 2 books, 2 big boys. It was a best offer accepted. It's Fantastic Four number 1 in a CGC 3.0. And Fantastic Four number 5, the first appearance of Dr. Doom in a CGC 4.0. Listing was $22,000 and the best offer was accepted. Let's first look at FF1. There was a sale, 2 sales in April, one for $9,400 and one for $15,000. So quite a wide range there. And the most recent sale of the number 5 in a 4.0 was in January for $7,300. Now, this is a book that has fallen a lot. This first appearance of Dr. Doom in a 4.0 was consistently selling around $11,000 for most of 2021 and 2022. These might not be bad books to get into in the moment. So if you look at the $15,000 sale in April for FF1 and a $7,300 sale of FF5 in January in these grades, that's $22,300. Best offer below 22 was accepted. Probably a good deal. I think that these books will have some oomph behind them when we get more of a movie announcement. However, the most recent rumors are that Dr. Doom is going to be a little bit down the road. He's not going to be there's going to be Galactus that's going to be the first FF villain, because both movie incarnations, actually the 3, including the dreadful Roger Corman, one from the 90s, all had Doom as the adversary. So they might want to just go in a slightly different direction this time. I think we're waiting for the news. I have to imagine sometime, San Diego Comic-Con, some Disney conference this summer, we're going to get a lot of news from Marvel. And that could obviously spike the values of these books. And, you know, or they're just great key Silver Age books to have. Let's look at number 5 on the list. And this is a really curious listing. This is Straight Arrow number 1 from 1950. It is a Golden Age book, but late Golden Age, and a CGC 7.0 that had a best offer accepted for a listing of $22,495. Now, I'd be curious as to what the offer accepted was, because $22,000 for this book is insane. A 9.8 sold in September of 2022 for $599. I'm thinking a 7.0 is like maybe a $300 book? Not a $22,000 book. So maybe they're just looking to get attention. Somebody shot them an offer that was reasonable and they accepted it. I don't know. So that is a curious one. If I don't know how to access the best offer accepted data, but if you know how to, you know how much this sold for, I would be interested. Leave it in the comments below. And would you spend $22,000 on Straight Arrow #1? I don't think I'd spend $22,000 on that book in a 9.9. Let's move on to number 4 on the list. This is a lot of raw books, but really it's all about one book. It's a Batman lot that had issues 2, 135, and 145, 123 bids. Final bid was $29,900. Let's talk about 2, because 2, if you look at the pictures, is the best looking book of the lot. The others are kind of mid-grade, maybe even lower mid-grade. 2 looks pretty sharp. Now, for that price, for just south of $30,000, right? The other books are like, what, maybe in that condition, like generously $200 between the two of them. Generously. That book would have to be graded about a 7.0 for a nearly $30,000 price tag to make sense. So if we take a look at it, does it look like a 7.0? It looks really sharp. It looks beautiful. And it's Batman #2. So maybe, I don't know. It's kind of surprising that if you wanted to maximize the value, you wouldn't get this graded. You know, there aren't any obvious signs of restoration. You know, they showed pictures of the inside cover, so it doesn't look like there's any color touch. And it is a gorgeous copy. Is it a 7.0? Maybe. Looks like it might be like a 7.5, maybe even 8. I mean, it looks pretty sharp. However, in going back through the pictures, if you look at the back cover, and I noticed it more visibly when I went through the pictures of the back inside cover, it looks like there was a tear. And then when you look at the yellow where around that tear on the back cover, it looks like there's something a little funky going on. So I did say there was no restoration, but what is going on in that particular area of the book? Because if that was restored in some manner, it doesn't look like it's tape. I don't know what it is, but if you notice, could it be color touch? I don't think so, because you wouldn't be able to color touch around the text. I don't know. It almost looked like there's something smeared on there. Let me know what you think of that book, but it's a gorgeous book. That worries me, and I probably would have stayed away from a book with that kind of look without contacting the seller. So I'd be interested to see if that book gets graded. If you know anything about the book and it being graded, I'll take a kind of have to remember to revisit Batman 2 on the CGC census down the road to see if another book of high grade gets graded in the near future. Let's move on to number 3 on the list, and this is a book we've already seen twice. It is Amazing Fantasy number 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man in a CGC 3.0. It sold for $35,000, and 4 days earlier, a Heritage auction had sold for $25,200. At the end of April, an eBay auction sold for $24,500. Now, this particular sale, I just want to take a quick look. It was... which is this, $35,000. It was, asking price was paid $35,000. That's almost that's $10,000 above where it has been. So I think wow, that is an aggressive an aggressive purchase. Um, it doesn't look like there's a lot of room for improvement with a clean and a press. Um, you know, Even the fair market value, which is a little generous and it's based on this sale, is 31 grand. This is the highest sale in a year since June of last year when there was a 37.2. Now the book did reach its heights of just over a year ago of $48,000. So it's if I were this seller and I had listed this book for $35,000 as a buy it now and somebody scooped it up, I'd be thrilled. And I'm sure if you have the money to spend and you got an AF15, hopefully the buyer is thrilled as well. Let's move on to number 2 on the list. And this is a repeat of a book we've already seen. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1, CGC 9.4, signed on the interior by Eastman and Laird. Sold at a buy it now for $37,250. Best offer accepted. So it did sell for slightly less than that. I'm not sure how much. It's up from a $28,800 sale in April of this year. The high of this book reached $42,000 in December of 2021. So the $37,250 is close to that. I'd be interested to see exactly where this particular book fell. Since it was signed by Eastman and Laird on the interior, which was industry standard probably through the 80s, maybe even the 90s. And that's why sometimes you'll open a book and you'll see an autograph in there and it'll be like, oh, wow, never know that was there. Once you get it encapsulated, you're never going to see the autograph again. But be that as it may, maybe that increased the value. And fortunately, since it was on the interior, you get a blue label rather than a green label. But I'm going to go right into number 1 on the list because it's a copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1. First print in CGC 9.6. That sold asking price of $48,999. A best offer was accepted. The previous sale on Heritage was $54,000. It did reach a high of $78,000 in September 2021, but this is a book that took off at the beginning of the comic boom. It had a record high sale of just $25,000, just $25,000, right? Just $25,000. In June of 2020, comic boom hits, TMNT goes through the roof. So we had a 9.2 sale, a 9.4, and a 9.6 in the top 10 for May of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 1. I have to imagine a lot of that is related to the dropping of the trailer for the upcoming animated movie, which looks very interesting. I've never been a Turtles guy. I kind of thought that it looked silly when it came out in the 80s and never got into it. Obviously, I didn't watch the cartoons. I was too old for that or play with the toys, etc. The first movie I watched, it was terrible. The one from, I guess, the early 90s. Was Courtney Cox in that? I think she was. Anyway, not a good movie. So it seems as though that Turtles books have been bouncing back. They skyrocketed before a lot of other books at the beginning of the comic boom because these first prints are fairly rare, and also you're reaching the nostalgia level of the kids that grew up reading those, almost 40 years ago now, that are a little bit younger than I am, but not a lot. And, maybe they now have the cash to spend on these early issues that they never had because the print runs were so low. So that's going to do it for our list. That's the top 10 eBay sales for the month of May 2023. 3 AF15s, 3 TMNT 1s, and a straight arrow number 1. Go figure. Some raw books as well as some slab books. So an interesting list. Let me know what you think about the list. And again, those accepted offers, if anybody knows how to gather that information, that would be useful going forward. In the meantime, you can check out a couple of my other videos here. And this is Jim saying until next time, enjoy your comics.